I'm excited to share my company Joltz has partnered up with ThunderFunder to democratize investing in awesome Bitcoin startups. Now live on thunderfunder.com, where anyone can invest and own a real piece of Joltz. All right, we are recording this on the 13th of November. It's always fun to see Bitcoin price absolutely ripping. And it's easy when that's happening to feel like all is well and we're winning. But the fight for freedom, as we know, is far from over. And that is why I'm very excited to have a very special guest on the channel today, Eduardo Jatahy, who is the CEO of Ulin, the issuer behind Brazilian stablecoin DePix, as well as a provider of back office solutions for crypto operators. We will break all of that down. But first, Eduardo, welcome to the channel.
Thank you very much, Ian. It's a pleasure to be here.
It is indeed. We've got a lot to cover because we've had an exciting couple of days together down in Sao Paulo at the SatsConf conference in Brazil. But before we get into things, I would love to just have the audience understand a little bit about where you're coming from. You have been in this space for a long, long time, more than most. And so tell us a little bit about your background and how that informed what you're now doing with Ulin.
Yeah, it's always a joke around. Like I've been in the Bitcoin space. I had 20 years, and this is because I've been in the Bitcoin space. That's all. White hair. Pretty much, I entered this space in 2016, and actually, I'm a Bitcoiner of the class of 2015, but I joined the market 2016. My background before getting into the rabbit hole was in financing and financial auditing, and I used to work in a big four at Ernst& Young. I was a financial auditor at Ernst & Young, so that's where I made my career. My background is in accounting and also economics. So I've always been more connected to the finance side, and it's my where's my skill set originally is. But I was always curious about tech. I always try to do entrepreneurship. 2014, we had a big crisis here, huge crisis. The president at the time was called Dilma, and we always keep saying the libertarians and the of Dilma, right? that that's how people start to read during these struggles. People start to understand what's happening, and that's how I come into some libertarian ideas, especially now Austrian economics school and all that. And that's how I found Bitcoin. And then I started reading about Bitcoin, and I said, man, this is going to change everything. And I was in a very bad place at that moment financially and all. And I said to my wife at the time, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to study this more. And I spent 3 months studying this. I went out the record. I only read about Bitcoin. I saw all Andreas Antonopoulos videos at the time, and then I said, I'm going to work on that. I'm going to change my career. And I think this is the market of the future. And then I decided to move. So I bought my first Bitcoin. It was possible to buy entire Bitcoin at that time, really easy. And then I came and I decided, okay, I will try to work in the market. 2016, I tried to enter Mercado Bitcoin as one of the biggest exchanges in Brazil. Rodrigo Batista, who was CEO at the time, who actually interviewed me for a position of client support. And I remember that that he told me, Eduardo, your like background, man. Now, how can I put in client support? Look at your background. Like you have all this curriculum of finance side. I said, man, I just want to get into the market. And then he said, no, man, yeah, it didn't work. It did not work out, but we stayed friends, and this story continues in the future. And then I went the next day with a recommendation letter to Foxbit. I went there there was like 6 people who were at Foxbit. And I went with the recommendation. I was with my recommendation letter and saying, okay, I work for you for free. I can help you in building up all the accounting, all the financial side. And they actually hired me. It was not for free, but they actually inserted me in the company, and then I became a partner and CFO of Foxbit. And that's how my career in this market pretty much went on. Afterwards, I left Foxbit after there was a incident with one of the founders. I don't know, but this is a very sad story here in Brazilian Bitcoin history. One of co-founders of Foxbit died in a car crash here. I don't know if you know that, but Guto, he died like in a car crash in 2000, 18 to 19. Then I left the Foxbit a little bit afterwards to build up a team. Was a remittance. It was a crypto remittance company. We use Bitcoin Rails, and I actually insisted in using Lightning network at that time to do the Rails because the remittance was from Brazilian reais for the Brazilian payment system to Bitcoins to purchase gift cards. So I used my connections with Bitrefill, and I actually used at that time a wallet called Zap wallet that later became Strike. Right. And I remember talking with Jack, and he's like, "Man, it's not working," or whatever. And he was into like used to answering their Slack group there. It was quite cool. So it was in the beginning. Lightning was a little bit more clunky at that time. But anyway, so I stayed at in 2021. I made an exit at Glen, and then I was hired by Rodrigo Batista from Mercado Bitcoin. He was building another company called Digitro.com. It's a global exchange company that's still going around. They are going. And in 2000 and last year, in 2023, there was a huge bear market, and I had to again. I passed through that in Foxbit as well. We had to do this huge downs. And at that time, I said, "Man, Rodrigo, I am probably one of the expensive people here to be in the company for this bear market. I'm downsizing everybody, including myself. So, and he respected that a lot because my technical financial advice, let's say like that. And it was necessary at that moment. And then I left the company and said, okay, I'm going to look around other opportunities. But I already had 2018, 2019, I was thinking of solutions to the regulatory issues that we are having here in Brazil, the regulatory crackdowns that we are having. I've been involved in this discussion for quite a while, and as a libertarian and as a huge advocate for privacy and freedom, I believe these are fundamental rights that are being attacked. Uh, this is my on the principle side. I said, okay, so how can we do a legal way, the most private way for people to get to Bitcoin or the people to get to anything they want in a sovereign way. And that's how Elon idea started to grow up. And then I took it off, and then I presented this idea to my Fernando, you know him, to my actual co-founder at SetsConf in 2023. So it was quite amusing to 1 year later we are sponsoring StatsConf. We are showcasing a new product. We had partners there, or 8 partners with us there, doing all that stuff. So giving context to people in the channel, we have crypto operators and P2P operators in the market who are our partners. So we are a B2B to C company. We do not have a product for the end user in Ulen, right? We have a product to our partners, and they have a product to the end user. Some of them are wallets. So we are an infrastructure company, let's say like that. We structure Bitcoin business to access the banking system and to comply with all the regulatory requirements, because I've been doing that for so many years now in all the crypto exchanges. And pretty much and the big innovation is by doing that we give a certification, let's say a token, that's what it is in the end, saying I received reais, I received fiat from your client. This is the equivalent of the fiat money that I received. And this is called DePix. Originally, that was simply the idea. But the idea of, in the great question since the beginning that I always had with this company was, is there a demand for that? Is it possible to make money out of it? Can I grow from that? That this is always the questions that I every day which is and say, what is the real market size for private and sovereign individuals? Right? This is the big questions I have all the time. But it proved sometimes it surprised me because the pigs got on really quick. But we are really excited to everything we've built so far.
Absolutely. So you've seen a little bit of everything, and that was that's been a reason why I've been so fascinated to learn from you, to learn from what you guys are doing. That's so funny on Zap, right? A lot of people listening and watching have probably never heard of Zap, but as you said, that was in the very early days of Lightning, and so no, it's I think taking all of that experience and kind of building it into Yulin is really interesting, and just for me being kind of brand new to, the Brazilian market, I was absolutely fascinated by this model that you're describing. For people listening, a lot of you might be familiar with platforms like BISC, platforms like RoboSats, where you can go in and buy Bitcoin, peer to peer, right? And essentially, what Yulin is providing are different services for those peers that you are buying Bitcoin from, right? They are little businesses in and of themselves. They have needs. They need connectivity to the fiat system. They have, privacy needs, different things like that. And so I found it just fascinating to see this network of P2P operators, each delivering services to their clients in different ways. And ultimately, it's your sort of tech and the DePix, or decentralized PIX stablecoin, that is providing a lot of that functionality. You mentioned the demand for privacy as well. Pretty much unambiguously, my most popular videos on this channel are about privacy. And so, like, in some ways, of course, it's not the case that everyone in the world cares about privacy. Like, we know that. But I do
Yeah.
think the demand for more privacy, more freedom, more self-sovereignty is bigger than even we in the community think. And that is growing over time, given what is happening with surveillance and government actions around the world. And so that kind of gets me to my next question, which is, help us understand a little bit about what is happening in Brazil in relation to CBDCs. As far as I understand, you guys are quite far along in that process. So talk a little bit about where Brazil is in that journey and why a stablecoin like DPix is a potential alternative to that path.
Yes. The central bank digital currencies, the CBDCs, it is a discussion all over the world. And Brazil is one of the countries who has it more advanced. They cannot push it in a way that they tried in Nigeria. In Nigeria, they actually had it did not work. In Nigeria, they tried to impose CBDC, but maybe in the wrong moment. So there is a scale to get to CBDC, I think. First of all, they need to get rid of cash. Cash needs, and they need to do in a way that society accepts getting rid of cash. So what happened in Brazil? We have PIX, the Brazilian payment system, that became very efficient. And so you had a lot of people using PIX instead of cash. So the people getting bankerized, let's say, they been getting banked. Sorry, bankerized in Portuguese, getting banked. People were unbanked, and they are getting banked because of this advance of easier technologies. Uh, and I believe this is like in Brazil, they actually are doing it in a very tricky way. So cash is becoming harder and harder, and usually being marginalized even more. So the fiat system is already crushing cash here in Brazil, and they're doing it. It's a process that it's happening, and I see that somewhere along the way they're just going to prohibit it. Actually, there was a one of the worker party here in Brazil. The worker party right now is the government party. It's the one Lula is from the worker party. One of the worker party's deputies in the Congress just suggested a law to ban cash. So we understand that this is the trending, and they want to do that because they believe they will have more control. They will be easier to tax, will be easier to avoid all the AML, QIC, and all that stuff they were already discussed a lot, and also for political control. Like one of the people right now in Brazil, we have some journalists in Brazil who are abroad because they're being persecuted here in Brazil. One of these are is famous. It's called Alan dos Santos, and he actually asked for some help, for some donations to pay bills because he's he lost his platform, right? He lost his cash flow, and to pay bills because his daughter was going through some medical surgery.
Mm.
And everybody who with PIX to do that bill got blacklisted by the
Wow.
government in power.
Wow.
So it is full control, and Drax will bring it even more. It will be easier. And this is maybe for Americans or actually you're getting more used to that as well, to this kind of totalitarianism. But without any due process, it will be possible to block an account. Without any due process, right now it's possible to take away money from a company, saying it's a fraud allegation. Well, you block account from the company. Right now in Pix, it works that. With Drex will be even worse. With Dex will be even harder, or even easier to do that. It is insane what's going to be happening, and people do not understand the when you give this kind of power to humans, right? You risk a lot, right? Because every human is a frail person. He is a political interested person. If you're not on the side of the guy in power, you could be in bad shape. If you're not saying the things that people want you to say, you could be in bad shape. This is happening right now in Brazil. If Drex is another way of trying to even have more control. And I keep saying that even to my non-libertarian friends or people who disagree with me, even for people the far left here, I keep saying you can just imagine if your opponent has this power, because it can happen, man.
Yep.
Like in the next cycle, your opponent can have access to the same power that you have, that you think the guy in your side has now. So we should not give this power. But the reality is this power is being given to people. So when we created DePix, is in this scenario. It is an adversarial scenario. It is a scenario where we see a lot of totalitarianism happening, and there is a saying here in Brazil. Okay, if I'm an entrepreneur, I see this happening. So if this happens, as I said, demand for freedom and sovereignty increases. So I want to be one of the entrepreneurs in the right side of history, trying to give this kind of product to sovereign individuals. And DePix is one of way of doing that, because the way we've been designed is we do it everything by the book locally, but the token created, we create originally liquid and now we have in Lightning, is in a way that we cannot freeze accounts, in a way that we cannot control. It is being built this way. If we need to build in a network, like say originally we discussed building in Polygon and we deprecated it because we could be able to freeze. And if we are able to freeze the assets, we will be captured to freeze the assets. If we are able to track the funds and do everything, the network, we will be obligated to do that. It's only a matter of time. So I cannot have that power. We build in a way that this power is unable for me. They can prohibit the token. They can say, I cannot have a token like DePix. It's prohibited right now, a law, whatever. But as long as we are able to build like that, we'll be keep building. Of course, there's a lot of discussion with our lawyers, next steps, if they do that, if they do this. But the main point is DePix is probably in Brazil the most private way of legally getting out of the fiat system, right? And also with Drex, if I keep this question, what's going to happen with the peaks when Drex is launched? And I keep saying it's going to be faster and easier because I'm going to be the bridge with Drex. So it's going to be in thesis even faster. Of course, there are a lot of risks, just like I have a risk right now with the payment system. I need to see, especially the short chargeback problems. The main problem with the fiat system is because it's a system of soft promises, right? It's not a system of hard promises. So when you receive a payment in a fiat system, even a credit card or any kind of bank transfer, it is a soft promise because it can be charged back, it can be taken away. So that's why it's weak money and weak system, because cash is the only hard promise you can give. Like I give you cash and I need to go and beat you up to get it again back, right? And then, but With the fiat system, that's not true. With the DePix systems, that's not true. Like I pay you, but I can go there and say it was a fraud and your money is blocked.
Yep.
So this is a soft promise system. It's not like Bitcoin or any tokens that we create in Lightning Network like that. So there is actually a lecture of Andrew Antonopoulos saying about soft promises and hard promises, right? So the great challenge for us is we need to take money, we need to provide a bridge from a soft promise system with
Mm,
all the risks involved
mm,
to hard promise system. Because when I give DePix, it's a hard promise. I cannot take
yep.
it back from you. I cannot say give me back the DePix. I do not have that power. So the main thing for our company is this. That's the main risk and the main hurdle we need to pass through. So when I say the CBDCs will bring a scenario that it is a tyrant scenario, it's a tyrannical scenario, but also brings a lot of opportunities for Bitcoin users because we can use technology, and we are we as cypherpunks, we like technology, right? So we can use technology to our advantage. So it can be actually faster and easier to bring people from fiat to Bitcoin, and they'll probably try to control that as much. It is a, as I said, I think it's kind of a cat and mouse scenario continuously. It will keep happening for the next decades until they accept the fact that Bitcoin is the best reserve asset, and they adopt just like El Salvador did. But a country like Brazil will take too much time to do something like that. It
Yeah.
is possible that the country goes completely bankrupt before doing something like that.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of people listening, that diagnosis that you shared about CBDCs, like that's, going to resonate. The whole problem of censorship, of being stripped away of your ability to transact one of your most fundamental rights as a human being, as well as one of the most fundamental aspects of your life, right? Like that is absolutely pivotal, just as freedom of speech is. And so it makes a ton of sense, I think, what you guys are doing, trying to build this bridge. And I love that analogy to Andreas's kind of, from the soft promise world to the hard promise world, a world where you don't have this ability to just unilaterally stop someone from transacting or control how it is that they do that transacting. I think a follow-up question very naturally that probably some watching and listening to this will ask is like, well, guys, why, I agree with everything you've said. Why not go straight to Bitcoin then? Why not just go straight to Bitcoin? And I think, Eduardo, if I can speak for both of us, obviously that's where we ultimately hope to get. But in our, own experiences with what we're building with Joltz, we've seen that meeting people where they are is super critical, especially at this point in time and where we're at. What I mean by that is your unit of account, someone's existing unit of account, is one of the stickiest things in their life. They may not like the Brazilian real, they may not like the US dollar, they may not like the euro, but the fact is they, one, probably have debts, some form of debt denominated in that currency. They may have expenses in their life that are denominated in that currency. They may be a business and have to pay suppliers or whomever denominated in that currency. So we're very much still in this transition phase. And I just don't think we're going to be able to immediately get everyone onto this kind of hyper Bitcoinized standard. And so for us at Joltz, and I think it's greatly exemplified by what you guys are doing, stablecoins really can be this bridge to that hyper Bitcoinized future. Um, Meeting people where they are, therefore getting people bridged over from this fiat world into this, more Bitcoinized world, getting the tools of self-sovereignty into their hands, right? Self-custodial wallets, these different things. And you're just able to do that on a much faster time scale than in a world where stablecoins don't exist. Now, there's different designs and different trade-offs. And as you said, Eduardo, it matters immensely the technology stack that we're building on, right? Because in Ethereum land, you do have the ability, right? Tether, for example, has the ability to freeze and unfreeze assets, right? Tether has a huge brand name. I don't think that's harm to them in terms of their business prospects, but that is really important. And so what you're mentioning earlier DePix, which had been launched on the Liquid sidechain to Bitcoin, and I've made a whole video on this channel about Liquid. But what we got the chance to announce together just a couple days ago in Brazil, which is super exciting, is the first. So DePix is now the very first natively issued stablecoin on the Lightning Network via Taproot Assets. So that is where my company Joltz sort of comes in, providing the infrastructure that enables asset issuers like Yulin or wallets, end users, P2P operators to basically use Taproot Assets. And for those not familiar, Taproot Assets is a protocol developed by Lightning Labs to make Bitcoin, and specifically the Lightning Network, a multi-asset network, enabling the support of things like stablecoins, but critically enabling these additional assets in a way that doesn't bloat the chain. It's extremely chain efficient. Kind of all the metadata associated with these assets is stored off-chain. It's also good for privacy in that regard. And so that was a super exciting moment. It was really exciting to see the community's reaction to that announcement. Eduardo, what do you think the Lightning Network brings to DePix specifically into the community there?
Yeah, there's one thing that I would like to just come back regarding the advantage of a stablecoin. I would say leaving the fiat system of a stablecoin. When you go to Coinbase, and remember that if you read this channel, when you go to Coinbase and you buy Bitcoin and send to your wallet, okay, you're right, you need to send to your wallet. But Coinbase knows your address, your name, when you bought Bitcoin, and how much. So these four informations is going to the IRS, is going to the federal government, and probably it's going to be leaked along the way.
Yep.
So when you go do that with a stable coin, it is what is being informed as a stable coin 1 for 1 to the local currency. So there is also this advantage. You go to, and if you go to Joltz, with DePix, for instance, for Brazilians, it will be impossible to know if you're traded for sets, for when and how much. So this info becomes, I'm not saying that you should not declare in it for the IRS, all the stuff that you need to declare. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you do not need to enter the database of an exchange,
Yep.
saying how much would and this is the main advantage that I see on an operational security perspective. And also, what I see regarding the PIX in being the Lightning Network is because I do not, even though I like Liquid, I cannot say that it's a bad side chain. I have a lot of support. I have great relationship with everybody in the federation. But the point is, we know blockchain can scale. Liquid is cheap now because there's not that much volume in it.
Yep.
We can discuss blockchain scalability again. But the point is, we're going to get the same problems that have been discussed for the last 15 years in Bitcoin talk. Secondary layer is the only way to scale, right? I believe that, and I believe most of the Bitcoiners do that. So if we want to bring these kind of transactions, and I mean all the transactions from a fiat system to Bitcoin conversions, let's say like that, it's better to do in Lightning Network in a very sovereign way. So I'm very excited to be one of the pioneers with you guys at Joltz to launch that at Lightning, because this can be game changer. We can have a cheap way for people to get out of a soft promise system to go to a hard promise system uh, uh, with scalability. With Lightning, we can scale that to levels that to be very cheap and high with tons of transactions. So I think this is the next step. For many years, this stablecoin system has been traded in other chains, and I believe it's going to take a while for it to move to Lightning. But in the end, price will matter, and by that I mean, in the end, you have privacy and cheap transactions, right? Privacy and low fees, right? In the end, it's going to be that. And in time, I believe people will look for that. Okay, why do I want to leave the Bitcoin network if with two presses of a button, I, in a sovereign way, get sets in my wallet? And that's important in a sovereign way. Like, so I'm excited. I think we've probably and this is a part of my thesis, Ian. I believe this cycle is the cycle that we're going to see a lot of things being built around Bitcoin, and instead of all the crazy altcoins extravaganza we had in the last cycle, right? I think this is the time for a lot of. I'm not saying it's going to end the altcoin extravaganza. Right now, we have somebody in the U.S. government that create a Dodge department, right? But anyway, I think Bitcoin is steadily even a solid thing for scale payments.
No, I share that view, and obviously I cover the whole space as closely as I can on this channel, and I think people have heard me say many, many times just the degree to which you see developers coming back to the Bitcoin ecosystem, building new and interesting things. I just did a video on ZK or zero knowledge, roll-ups and proofs on Bitcoin, and again, there's limitations and things will take time, as you rightly said, but it's super exciting to see what's being built, and we are pumped as Joltz to be partnering with you guys to launch this new chapter of the Lightning Network and really bring benefits as we've discussed. We're coming to the end of our time here, Eduardo. So where can people, if they're listening, I have audiences, kind of all around the world, if they're particularly if they're in Brazil or if they just are interested in kind of keeping tabs on what you guys are working on, where can they find you?
I have my Twitter account, Eduardo _Jatahy. It's hard to say in English, Jatahy. It's
I'll put
because
a
of
I'll
the
put a I'll
J.
put a screenshot on in the editing.
It's a the J is different sounding in Portuguese.
Mm-hmm.
But we have right now our website, app. And DePix is also has a website called depix.info. And we are building up our social media. We are very underground team right now, so we do not have our social media stuff. But we're building up. We have Telegram users and all that, but we probably the main channel to reach us right now is through our website. It comes us. We receive and I answer personally
Love
as
it.
well.
Excellent. And I'll put all those links and resources in the description down below. And for those of you that are curious about Joltz, you've heard me talk about it a little bit. I'll also flash that info up as well. You can follow us on Twitter at Joltz_BTC. And I will definitely be doing content in the near future with the Joltz wallet, so you can see some of this great stuff in action. But we'll go ahead and leave things here. Eduardo, my friend, it was a pleasure having you on. We'll have to do it again sometime. Thanks for coming on the channel.
Thank you very much, Ian. I appreciate it.
Excellent.